I can't see you. There are very bright lights, but hopefully you can hear me. I was shocked to find out that there was a taller Jewish lawyer in Minnesota than me. I don't know how I didn't know that. I didn't know Ron Garber before tonight, but I've known his sister for years and years. She's a friend of my daughter's. And I had no idea she had this tall brother. So my claim to fame as being the tallest just went down the drains. I want to show you something. I hope you can see it. This is a framed print by Mordecai Rosenstein. It's pretty familiar to people in the Jewish community. And the inscription is, "Justice, justice shalt thou pursue." But the inscription down here is more important. This was the very first ever Sidney Barrows Lifetime Commitment Award. It was given to my partner and friend Marvin Borman 15 years ago. And when Marvin died a couple of years ago, Betty gave it to me, Betty Borman, who's here tonight. And it is hung on the wall in my office. You actually could see it in the video a moment ago, ever since. Now, it never, ever occurred to me that sometime I would get the same award that a giant of this community like Marvin Borman had received. So I am honored and touched and moved to be a recipient of this award tonight. When Bob Barrows, who, as he mentioned, we've known each other since we both became lawyers pretty much 40 years ago, called me to tell me I'd won this award, I was stunned. And when I hung up, I cried, literally cried for 10 or 15 minutes in my office. I knew Sid Barrows. I've known Bob Barrows. Bob's son Jeff and my son Norman have been close friends ever since kindergarten, remain friends today. And so it's a special honor to me to receive an award that's named after Sid Barrows, that Marvin Borman won, that two other former Maslin lawyers won, Ambassador Sam Kaplan, and the person who helped integrate me into the law firm as a young associate, the first female chief judge of Hennepin County, Bobby Levy. So I'm very honored and very grateful, and I thank all of you for being here tonight to share this with me. I don't know that I can speak as eloquently as Ron or Phyllis did this evening, nor am I anxious to speak at length because I really want to hear Nina Totenberg. But I do have a few things I want to say. There's a few simple beliefs and a great deal of luck that have played a large role in my life, and I suspect had something to do with my standing here in front of you today. Those of you who are Jewish in this room know that in each service, 3 times a day at the end, we recite the Aleinu prayer. And in the latter part of that prayer, the part that we don't say out loud but that we say silently, is the phrase, L'tikun olam b'malchut Shaddai. I won't translate that for you literally, but in a contemporary American usage, that phrase is understood to mean that we as Jews have an obligation to repair the world. I have felt a personal obligation to do my modest part, and any one individual's part has to be modest of necessity, to repair the world. And I've felt that for about as long as I can remember. When I was in about 9th grade, that sense of personal obligation coalesced with my great admiration and love for my cousin Irving Gottlieb, who was the first Jewish president of the Ramsey County Bar Association. So by 9th grade, I had already decided to become a lawyer, and not just any lawyer, but I had decided to become a civil rights lawyer. Now, never mind that I really had no idea what a lawyer did, and never mind that I had even less idea what a civil rights lawyer did. But I had made up my mind that's what I was going to do, and I never, as my wife said, once I make up my mind, I don't change it very easily. And I'm not a fast learner, as Vivian will also tell you. So I was still pretty clueless about what lawyers do when I told one of my law school professors that what I really wanted to do was practice civil rights law in Minnesota. And that's when I got really, really lucky, because as it turned out, my professor had worked in the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department with a lawyer who was then practicing in Minnesota. And he picked up the phone and called him and asked if he would be willing to chat with me. And he was. So on the morning of Christmas Eve in 1972, I arrived at a law office in downtown Minneapolis. My hair was well below my shoulders. My beard was about 8 times bushier than the one I wear now. I was wearing bright maroon double knit slacks, a white and maroon striped shirt, and I was wearing this seersucker jacket in December. Seersucker in December. And you know, I got lucky again because as it turned out, the lawyer I had gone to meet had hair that came down to his shoulders. And though he didn't have a beard, I later learned that he had the same jacket, but instead of maroon and blue, it was blue and gold. His name was Chad Quaintance, and I'm proud to say he's here tonight. And before I left his office, he had introduced me to Irving Brand, who was the first Jewish Hennepin County district judge. And even more to my surprise, before I left the office that day, I had an offer to be a summer associate at the law firm then known as Maslin, Kaplan, Edelman, Borman, Brand, and McNulty, and I've never worked anywhere else since. When I joined Maslin over 40 years ago, Maslin was representing the NAACP in the landmark lawsuits to desegregate the Minneapolis Public Schools and the Minneapolis Fire Department. I got lucky again because Chad and Hy Edelman asked me to work on that case with them, and I had an opportunity to work on both of those cases over a period of years until they came to their conclusion. When those cases came to an end, as luck would have it, another Maslin partner asked me to get involved in representing what was then known as Planned Parenthood of Minnesota. And that began a nearly 15-year, probably closer to 20-year relationship in which I had the great honor during the tumultuous days following Roe versus Wade in the 1980s to represent Planned Parenthood of Minnesota in reproductive freedom litigation. I had the opportunity including taking Hodgson versus Minnesota to the U.S. Supreme Court and pretty much winning that case. Not completely, unfortunately. I got to sit on the Planned Parenthood board for a decade, and I was its general counsel for most of that time. I eventually termed out on the Planned Parenthood board, and it was my good luck again to be introduced to the American Civil Liberties Union of Minnesota. And for about the past 13 or 14 years, I've had the privilege to represent the ACLU in a wide variety of First Amendment cases as well as other types of cases and serve on its board of directors and for the last several years serve as chair of its law committee, which is a committee that recommends which cases the ACLU will become involved in. So my meeting to learn about being a civil rights lawyer was the beginning of a 40-year plus run of mostly good luck. And it gave me an unparalleled opportunity to become a trial lawyer and do my very, very small part to try and repair the world by litigating important and some not so important constitutional and civil rights issues, while at the same time having an opportunity to earn a nice living practicing for paying clients, doing a wide range, a cornucopia of interesting matters. And because I like trying cases, I had a great deal of fun doing it. I've had a great deal of fun. Now, at the end of the spoken part of the Amida prayer, which is again recited 3 times a day, we say, L'dor v'dor nagid l'adlecha, which translated literally means, from generation to generation, we declare God's greatness. However, this phrase resonates with me in a slightly different way. To me, L'dor v'dor means it is important to make certain that the rich and important ethics that Judaism teaches, particularly the obligation to repair the world, are passed on from one generation to the next generation, just as an earlier generation, particularly the earlier generation of lawyers, gave me the opportunities I have had to do my small part. So the very modest bit of advice I would like to pass along to the next generation or generation and a half of lawyers in this room tonight. And I know that some of them already know this because Ron Garber, who won the Art Pfeffer Award, and Art Pfeffer was a Maslin lawyer this year. Leora Maccabee Ipman, who won it last year and who was one of my colleagues at Maslin. Jenny Gassman-Pines, who won it several years ago. My colleague at Maslin, Jenny Benowitz. They know this, but I want everyone to know it, and it's this. You should be always alert for opportunities, particularly pro bono opportunities, to use the great privilege you have been granted by the state of Minnesota to practice law in a democracy and in a free country that has the Constitution and Bill of Rights that we have, and do your part to repair the world. Those of you who follow this little piece of advice will never regret doing so, and the world will be a better place if you do. Now, I cannot possibly thank everyone living or dead who deserves a thank you tonight, though I sort of desperately want to do it, but it would bore you to death if I tried. But there are some people I feel compelled to mention. First, a very big thank you to my wonderful paying clients over the years for placing their trust and confidence in me and making it possible for me to do all the work I've done for non-paying clients. And though I know it is impolitic to single out any one client, I'm going to do so anyway, because I am particularly proud of the relationship I've had now for a quarter of a century with Medtronic. It's a relationship I treasure and I cherish, and I'm particularly proud that I've had that opportunity. I can't thank, and I'm not going to thank, all of my Maslin colleagues by name who are still active in the firm, because I would invariably leave somebody out who deserves mention. But for all of those of you who are still at the firm, whether you're a lawyer or a paralegal or my assistant, know how much I appreciate and cherish my relationship with you. But in addition to mentioning Marvin, Borman, Irv Brand, and Chad Quaintance, all of whom are retired from the firm or have left the world, there are two people no longer at the firm I have to single out because I owe them the greatest debt of gratitude. I owe an eternal debt of gratitude to the greatest lawyer I ever knew, the late Hyman Edelman, who took me under his wing. Hy deserves that. He would be 100, if Hy was alive, he would be 109 years old right now. He took me under his wing. He taught me everything important I know about being a lawyer. The other person to whom I am grateful and who I am glad is with me tonight is the best art dealer in the state of Minnesota, Martin G. Weinstein, who as a Maslin associate, which we were together, showed me the ropes and bought me a new suit because he couldn't stand looking at me in this jacket. And as a Maslin partner, Marty gave me the great privilege of helping him run the firm for nearly a decade, from the late 1980s to the mid-1990s. I'm grateful to my parents, who passed away long ago, for encouraging me to be a lawyer or a doctor or a rabbi. It didn't matter to them which, as long as I was one of them. And I will tell you, I was stunned tonight when I opened up the program and I saw pictures of my parents in there. My brother Bob, who's an artist living in New York, placed an ad with my parents' pictures in it. You'll find it near the back of the book, and I'm very touched that he did that. I'm grateful. I'm going to choke up now, guys. I am grateful to all 5 of my children, all of whom you saw in the video, all of whom I am thrilled to say are here tonight. Unfortunately, my daughter-in-law, my future daughter-in-law, and I'm not sure how to refer to Greg, but my daughter's longtime boyfriend, are not able to be here with us, nor is my brand new 3-week-old grandchild, Alexander, able to be here. But I am, I'm over the moon about him, I got to tell you. They are the joys of my life, and as Norman pointed out in the video, they have given me the opportunity to spend a significant part of every winter for the past 29 years freezing my tuchus off in hockey arenas. But that's my Miriam. I'm proud of the fact that each one of the 5 has already, in their own unique and substantial way, been practicing Tikkun Olam. Even Miriam, who started a website for animal rights at 10 years old. She started when she was 8. So Lador Vador has been working in our family, and I couldn't be happier. I'm going to leave my final thanks to the 2 most important people of my adult life. First, I'm eternally grateful to my late wife, Barbara Zeman Pentelovitch, whose mother, Ruth, 90 years old, is with me tonight here, who at least twice talked me out of quitting law school, who gave us my 3 oldest wonderful children, who was the love and light of my life for 25 years, and who left this world all too soon 20 years ago this month. And last but not important, to my wife for the past 16 and a half years, Dr. Vivian Fisher. Thanks for rescuing me from being a widower. Thanks for curing my hypochondria. Nothing better for curing hypochondria than being married to a doctor. They don't take anything seriously unless you're arterial bleeding or you stop breathing. Thank you for helping me raise the 3 older kids. Thank you for giving me the 2 younger ones. Thank you for giving me your full love and support as I have gone off night after night to pursue my small efforts at Tikkun Olam. And as the rings that she and I both wear on our finger are inscribed on the inside, thank you for never letting there be a dull moment. I love you. I've talked enough. I'm ready to listen to Nina Totenberg. Good night.